In this video we're going to go over half pass. Half pass is one of the more challenging lateral movements there is. And the reason that is because the horse is bent into the direction of travel and heading off in a diagonal. So I've set up some poles here to kind of give you a diagonal line to follow. And with the half pass, you're going to bend the horse into the direction of travel opposed to a leg yield which the horse is bent away. So when the horse is bent away, it's a lot easier to get your horse to go diagonally, where with the half pass you have to create the bend, get the bend to the inside, and then get your horse to move into that direction, keeping the bend. And that's a much more of a challenging exercise to do. So you're not really going to get into the half pass until you have your haunches in fairly strong, and then you can start to play with the half pass idea. And so to do that, I'm set up along the rail here. I've got my diagonal, which is the line of poles there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tip my horse's nose to the inside slightly. I'm going to slide my outside leg back, and that's the leg that's going to ask her to step over a little bit. And then my inside leg is kind of the leg that's going to keep her soft, and it's like she's wrapping around that leg. And I'll just show you here. So I'm actually going to just walk a circle here. It's a lot harder to do it just starting off from a complete halt. And the circle can help me because I can use the circle as a way to create the bend. And then when I get to H there, I can start my half pass. So I've got the bend here. Now I'm going to head off at a diagonal. So my outside leg comes back, and we follow the rail, or follow the poles here as my diagonal. And then I'm going to halt here just to kind of show you. With the poles, it's a great visual, because what'll help you is if you think of the horse's head and shoulders are in line with your diagonal line, which is the poles, and the horse's body is in line with the arena rail. So I'm going off at a diagonal, the horse's body's in line, stays in line with the arena, with the exception that the hind end's trailing slightly. So it's not like it's perfect. The hind end's going to be trailing slightly. And a lot of times in the beginning, when you start working with your horse, we get the hind end actually too much. So it's a balancing act of the front end's going to be leading just a little bit. With the poles as a visual, we can use that to help keep the bend, which is the head and shoulders are going to be following this line, where from the wither back is going to be in line for the most part with the long wall. And so again, I'm just going to kind of walk forward and then slide my outside leg back to ask her to move her hind end off and go off at a diagonal. And we don't have to go real far, and I'll show you this from the back here too. So I'm heading down the rail. I've got an imaginary line heading towards C there. I slide my outside leg back. I keep the horse's head and shoulders on that line with the hind end and shoulders parallel to the long wall. And so you're getting a nice crossover from the outside legs crossing the inside. And then I went quite a ways there. In the beginning, you're just going to do a few strides and then you can go forward. So as I come up here, I create the bend to the inside. I slide my outside leg back. If you notice, see how the horse's head and shoulders are in line with the poles, and I asked her body to stay in line with the rail. And there's a nice crossover of the hind feet and the front feet, particularly the hind feet. And the reason why the half pass is a lot more challenging is because you're getting that crossover of the outside hind, and I'll do it here again. The outside hind is crossing the inside, and what's happening is we're getting an engagement with both hind legs. And I have to keep the bend through her body, and I do that a little bit with my inside leg. Of course, the inside rein keeps the bend through the head and neck. And then I can come down and change. So I change the bend to the inside and ask the horse to go off in a diagonal. Now, the weight, where do you put your weight? Your tendency is to always put the weight into the direction of travel. But you're going to have to balance yourself here, because sometimes if you don't have control of the shoulders and you start putting too much weight into the direction, the horse is just going to go off at a diagonal, and you don't keep the bend in their body. So you might have to stay more balanced. Sometimes it's maybe shifting your weight out here a little bit to get the hind end over. But if you feel like you're having to get over here to get your horse to go that way, then you need to go back and spend more time with your haunches in work, because you really want to be just slightly shifting your weight into the direction of travel, and your horse just follows you over that way. So I will show you that from the behind on this side here, is as I'm coming down here, I'm going to bend my horse to the right, ask her to go to the right. Now my weight is slightly to the right. I have my outside leg back here saying cross over. I have a little feel with my inside calf here, just creating, I'm using this leg here to create the softness in the rib cage for her to bend. But then I have to still allow the movement to go off that direction. If I close my leg too much here, it'll shut down the movement. So it's all a delicate balance of having enough. I have a bend, my outside leg comes on, my inside leg and rein keep the bend, and then I shift my weight into the direction of travel, getting her to follow along underneath me. And that was pretty nice there. Keeping the horse's body parallel to the fence, keeping the head and neck in line with your diagonal line. And then we can pick it up into a trot. And then when I get to the gate there, I'll set up. I can use the corner to help me get the bend. And outside leg comes back. I shift my weight slightly in the direction of travel. I keep the bend, looking for her to stay soft in my hand and head off on a diagonal. So I can head to C. Nice crossover. And then I can change, go straight ahead, change the bend, go back the other way, come down the pole line here. And that way you can really see how the horse is Head and shoulders are on that line in the hind end, and shoulders are on the line of the long wall. And that can really help to give you a visual. Yeah. Now, see, I'm going quite a ways in the half pass. What's going to be better is if you do a few steps and then go straight ahead. And do a few steps and go straight ahead. Because what the tendency is when you start the half pass is your horse is going to just kind of go straight off. You're going to lose the hind end. So when you lose the hind end and the horse just heads straight into the off on the diagonal, if I go straight ahead following the rail, not my diagonal line, but the long wall, I will get my angle again, and then I can go off in my diagonal, keeping her in line with the long wall. So ideally, the whole time the horse's body stays in line with the long wall. But if you head off on your diagonal and the horse starts to just follow the diagonal, so like here I'm just heading straight forward, I'm no longer, the body is not in line with the long wall. So then I'm just going to go straight ahead, maybe on the quarter line, follow the quarter line, that'll get me parallel to the long wall, and then I can go back to trying for the diagonal. And if I lose the hind end, I can go straight ahead again following the long rail. I know that may sound a little complicated, but just go out there and start playing with it. And if you need to, just rewind the video and just kind of go over that a few times until that makes sense for you. That there's two lines there. You've got the long wall and then your diagonal. Now on your diagonal, and if you look at the poles here, it's roughly, you're going to be doing like a 30-degree angle, 30 to, you can go up to a 45-degree angle. So the angle is not going to be very steep, and if you even need to, in the beginning, to do less, where you come off less, that's fine too. But try not to get more than a 45-degree angle, because if you start going off more like in a 60, 70-degree angle, you're stepping sideways more than you're going forward. And that turns more into a full pass, which we'll go more into in another video. So keep the angle fairly mild, especially in the beginning, and then as your horse advances, you can ask for a little bit more angle as they come along. And you can do this at the walk, trot, and canter. We're not real strong at the canter with it, but I'll just show you what we've got going at the half pass at the canter, because this really helps with getting your leads. So I want to get a nice soft canter. I'm going to go deep into the corner, get the bend, outside leg comes back, keep her following the rail there, and that was nice. And then I'll come off, do that towards C. Come down, we don't have a flying lead change, so I'll just change, running out of room there, and then pick up the lead this way. We kind of ran out of room, so I'm just going to do a circle. Try not to force the half pass, just set your horse up. Yeah. So not bad. She has a harder time this way, so I'm not able to get as much crossover, but over time that will develop. So my outside leg comes back, saying keep your hind end parallel to the rail. And so actually, she's kind of releasing there, but I just wanted to show you a little bit. So I'm just gonna wait until she's done there. So if this side's a little bit more of a challenge, I can do what I call a stair step of just coming off a few strides and straight ahead. Then come off a few strides and then if I had long enough arena, I would go straight ahead again. Since we're just using half of the arena at the canter, that goes really fast. So I'll just kind of show you that here at the trot. I can half pass, and this is what I was just talking about. I can half pass a few steps, go straight ahead, and half pass a few steps, straight ahead, and so on. Whatever length of arena you have, the distance you have, you can play with that. So I can half pass to straight ahead and half pass. And that's a great little exercise to really help your horse, because it's a balancing. They don't get just locked into one thing. And particularly if your horse is losing the hind end and they just kind of want to go off at the diagonal. And you can just play with those stair steps. But get it strong at get it well at the walk, then build up to the trot, and eventually on into the canter. You don't have to go out there and get it at the canter right away. That might be a year of work developing that. But go on out there, play with it. Would love to hear how it's working for you. And the next video, we're going to talk about how to play with the half pass on the circle. We'll see you there.